May 1st was historically a Labor Day for some, a working day, working man's day, I was reading, but also for our movement, UPF, is Foundation Day. So we want to say happy Foundation, happy Labor Day, happy Working Day, the common working man. And this is what we're here for in stopping the violence. We've been doing for the last couple of years. It's a webinar really looking at the issues of violence in our nation and ultimately around the world. We did start off with gun violence. However, we realized that not just gun violence, but guns itself. But we realized that in order to begin to solve the problems, one of the avenues that is necessary to take is dealing with the root causes of why people feel the necessity or the urge or compelled to hurt, kill one of their own, their brothers and sisters, no matter who they are, no matter what race. We're all human beings. So in reality, we're all brothers and sisters. Why would you hurt and kill another human being? There are some root causes that we have been delving into through a lot of our speakers. So we're glad to have you this week. This is no stranger to us. This is Reverend VJ Smith. Actually, he was one of the first who have come on a couple of years ago to really grace us with his experience, his passion for solving problems. I'm not going to go over all his resume, but one of the things that struck me is that gives him more credence is that, as he would state that also he came from a situation where he was on the other side of the law, if you will. And then God subsequently brought him out, and he became a very strong advocate and worker in the field, making what I call sustainable and measurable results to help those that he left behind, if you will. Those he began to understand that he's been there, but now I want to play a critical role in helping others get where I am and where they need to be. And it just goes to show that even though you're on the other side, then that means that indelibly, intrinsically within each human being, there's goodness. And how do we tap into that goodness? And through tapping into that goodness, it brings you to the other side. And that also is one avenue of reducing crime. Amen. And I just reread it again. He's been working, especially in an area which is critical in the at-risk communities, is that a lot of fathers are missing in our homes today in those areas. And he's been working over 20 years. But through his projects and teaming up with other critical individuals, he has mentored over 60,000 men. And I think the majority of them have turned their lives around and became excellent fathers, went back to their families, been viable to the community. Also, many of them also turned back and became a mentor themselves to those who are in need as well. So that's just incredible. He's also part of our American Clergy Leadership Conference, which is a cadre of ministers coming together, going beyond denomination, their faith beliefs, but understanding that we do have a common understanding, and that common understanding is God. Goodness doesn't have a dogma. Goodness is absolute, right? Unchanging, unique, because goodness comes from God. And so we just want to discuss today because from the beginning, he has been passionate about let's establish a national conference. And then through the conference, we can establish a national collaboration, if you will, with the best practices out there, because he has some extraordinary practices that are shown to be best. And so others are out there also with wonderful hooks and baits, and they have been using, and they have shown some sustainable and measurable results. But if we can bring them all together and become a national coalition, that's where the power base will begin, or on a national level and on a more massive level of correction of those who are at risk and those who would be probably prone to violence. And so I just want to welcome my brother. I haven't talked to him in a while, but we're here because I've been also beginning to discuss with everyone that we're going to have a national conference. And so in doing that, we need to discuss the avenues that needs to be taken, the logistics and all of those type of things that will be needed and how we can begin to outreach. I've been also talking with some other speakers and they're really ready to go. And I think we need to have a national, a Zoom call very soon to bring those who are willing to be on the committee, the conference committee, so we can make this a national impact, even from the incubator of the conference. So I want to welcome you, my brother, long time. And I wanted to hear from you as well. How do you feel about this national conference and what impact you see it to be on a national level and also on our community level? Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Dr. Oliver. First of all, I want to say to everybody listening, if Dr. Oliver gives you his word, you can count on it. If he gives you his word, if he says he's going to do something, I'm a believer in that brother. He does what he says he's going to do. So thank you, Dr. Oliver, for having me on today. I appreciate that.
It's a pleasure, my brother. Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
tell us a little bit about your life. Tell us about how you see this being impact the
Well,
conference. You think you can help?
here's how I see it being an impact. First of all, there's some things, some components that we need to work on. And those components, number one, are the mental health issue. Number two are the poverty issue. Number three are the educational issues. And then number four are the grief and trauma issues. Until we deal with all those things, and we spend a lot of time deteriorating those things in our community, we spend a lot of time producing those things in our community. And so until we understand, it's going to take a while to reverse that. And I'll give you an example. I did a class on forgiveness to young people, teenagers, and it was not received well simply because they said we don't forgive. I did a class on grief and trauma to a group of teenagers. They did not receive that well because they said it's not grief, it's life. It's not. You're talking about grief and trauma. This is life. We did a piece on anger management, and the young people said, "Well, we ain't angry, you know. We just don't like nobody disrespecting us." And so the way that we have developed, see, this is a mindset that we put into our young people now. That to them, this is natural. The things that were, Dr. Oliver, that were unnatural to me and you are natural to the young people now. They look at this as a natural thing. So here's the reason to answer your question. The reason why we have to unlearn what we've been trying to teach some of our people and relearn a new way of teaching our young people so that they understand. First, they have to understand what's wrong with me. There's something wrong. When you're walking around like there's nothing wrong with me, all I need is money, nothing else matters, there's something wrong because there's more to life than just money. If I gave you $1 million, you still go out and do a million things wrong because that's all you know is things that are wrong. If all you're thinking about is stealing cars and robbing people and hurting people, if I give you $1 million, it doesn't change to what you do. It just changes how much of it that you do. You travel now from Chicago to Detroit, you're moving around the country because you got money. So we have to unteach them not only what we've learned, but how we've been teaching, to learn new ways of teaching these young people. When it comes to our adults, the ones that are in the mental health state of mind, we have to understand what the pharmaceutical companies have done to us. We have to take a clear understanding what that's done to the mental state. and the physical state of our people and put them in a situation where they're locked in and addicted to things that are destroying them mentally and physically. We have to understand that reason that you need those drugs that you can no longer afford, that you go to drugs like cocaine and heroin and opiates that you can get on the streets because you can no longer get the prescription you need. That adds to the crime, but we never really talk about that. We never really talk about how that's impacting our people and changing. And we really didn't talk about opioids until it started hitting more of the white community. Then we start talking about that. We never really talked much about crack cocaine and heroin and what it was doing to the inner city. We never had much of a discussion on that. So when we begin to do a conference, and a conference that really digs down deep and talks more about how do we partner with law enforcement, but how do we partner with law enforcement in a way that helps us deal with the mentality of the criminal. How do we partner with law enforcement and other social organizations that says, how do we partner with them so that we do a program that really digs down deep into the core problem, like why are you like that? How do we prevent that from happening? How do we help you understand that it's not normal for you to be like that? How do we teach you family values? How do we teach you relationship values? So those things are critical and important for us to do that. It's not a lack of money that we don't have. It's a lack of money being distributed in the right areas to the right people. I always thought that if we took those Christians and those brothers, those Muslim brothers and those Christian brothers, those brothers of faith, out of the penal system and put them back on the streets to save lives, that we could triple the lives that we save. But they can't do that work because they got a background, so they're not allowed to work with people, so they end up doing things they're not good at. But these are people that have been in the penitentiary for a long time and are ready to transform. I'm not talking about putting core criminals back on the street. I'm talking about put people of faith that said, you know what, I found out that God had changed me. Like he changed me, he's changed you. And let's put you back out there to save your brothers and sisters. Those are the things we have to do. We also have to stop all the red tape. Dr. Oliver, until we stop this red tape of blocking people, only certain grants go to certain people, only certain funding goes to certain people. And the people that really know how to do the work are getting kibbles and bits, are not able to have the huge impact they can have. We need to have a discussion on that and find out where's the funding going, where are the $1 million of funding that gets handed down from the Department of Justice and other departments, and how's it really having an impact on the community? I have yet to see a report. There may be one, but I haven't seen one that says, okay, this is how many millions we gave to crime intervention and prevention, and this is how much crime was reduced in inner city. These are organizations that receive the money. I haven't seen a report like that. And it'd be good, Dr. Oliver, if we could see something like that to have that kind of impact to show where the money's going and how it needs to be redistributed.
You said a mouthful. You said a mindful. You said a reality full right there, just in this short time. And I think that it's like you said, the you said it after I thought it, and that was when you were doing those anger management courses and trauma courses with these young people, and they're saying, we're not traumatized and stuff like that. And their reasoning behind it, they've become callous and they've become desensitized to good, if you will, or the reality of what good really is, because of their environment. And the main point that you made and crossed my mind was a mindset. You can develop a certain mindset that when we deal with the understanding of a conscience, you know, when you go deeper down, if somebody can really go deep down into those young men and boys and girls there, you can tap into a God part of them. But right now, what is camouflaging that to tap into it is the conscience. Now, the conscience can be molded according to what you think is right? But the conscience is supposed to be the tool and the element that helps you stop doing certain things, reevaluate those things and say something's not right. But if you constantly are is a like a cycle of environment that keeps going on that deadens that, and then the conscience thinks this is right, you know. So we have to, like you said, how do we change that mindset and tap into that other piece where one lady came on, I can't remember her name, sorry, but one of our speakers, and she was indicating that basically she was saying that all human beings are naturally good, right? Well, how do you get to that good piece? There's a tactic, or how do you navigate into that good piece to help them reevaluate what's right and wrong. But if they're, like you said, I think they are in an environment that is conducive of this vicious cycle and misunderstanding, right? So it is, the environment is playing. Then you have the greatest society. I've always said the greatest society um, is where I need that dollar. Give me that money. That's all I need, because of the fact that the greatest society there was no love coming through. So if you go back to the categorizing, as you had mentioned, where does these millions of dollars go? And how do you account for them? And how do you account for them from the standpoint of a sustainable difference that they can measure and show, some measurements and some data that says this worked. Yeah, and we don't see that. I remember that you had shared with me about these 60,000 young men that you had tapped into. Those young men who were who I always say the system likes to make as statistics to show, oh, these young men or don't have fathers in their home, and the percentage is very high, but what are let's do the opposite and say these 60,000 men who you mentor, and you were able to tap into the essence of the core of their soul, and then they can begin to see how they have turned their lives around. Why isn't that any um, funding to continue that result? So I think you shared that with me about.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It's when you look at the system and how the system works, especially in the inner city and how it works for low income and poverty ridden individuals. There's a criminal justice has a cap where they need to have a certain amount of people institutionalized in order to keep the private prisons and the prison industry going. So law enforcement has a mission to support that in some ways. And when you're working on our side of the fence, you don't always understand and know how that works. But the judges, the jails, and the sheriffs and the police officers, they play a role with the correctional facility to keep places full to meet a quota. Now, how that is subsidized and paid, and what kind of incentives are going with that, I don't know. But I do know it's a machine that works. So if a fathering program is 100% effective on changing the lives of fathers in the streets, wouldn't it make sense if you're saving 100 fathers a week? Wouldn't it make sense to at some point defund that? Simply because if I defund that, where do those fathers go now? They're not being nurtured. They're not being fed. They're not given the wisdom to do what they need to do. So then they retract to what they used to do. And so we have to remember that if you fund something too good, it also affects something that is kind of bad. Like prison's bad. It destroys families. And if we save those fathers, but there's empty prisons, that's not a healthy balance. I would say save the fathers that really want to be fathers, but then let's put the criminals, the hardcore criminals, the killers, the ones that are kicking in doors and robbing people, let's put those in prison. But those fathers that really made a little mistake or a small mistake, let's not capitalize on them. But that would mean putting different colors of people in the prison to fill it up. People that can afford lawyers but don't deserve the probation. Instead, they need to do 5 years, but they got probation. That would mean a whole lot of different things. So there's a machine that we don't talk about. There's a language that we don't talk about that we're going to take the least of thee and do the most damage that we can to them. And so therefore, why would we fund that? Why would we save those people?
Thank you. Let me ask you to, just to embellish a little bit more on what needs to be unlearned and what needs to be unteached and what needs to be replaced. How do you see that?
Well, I think we need to unlearn doing the same old thing the same old way. It's kind of like when me and you were growing up, Dr. Oliver, we said, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, yeah, daddy, that's all right. We said words like that. They don't, and then we also said, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We said words like that and they had meaning and they actually got me and you to the places where we are today. Had we not used some of those terms like yes, sir, yes, ma'am, please, and thank you. Some of that stuff we need to bring back. Some of the things, the old things that we've learned, need to be changed, like the way that we teach in class, the way that we instruct, how we teach kids when they have bad behaviors, how we put them on pharmaceutical drugs versus giving them what they need, which is love and nurturing, and somebody to give them the kind of support that they need. How we, as an adults, look at our kids in our community, look at them as gangbangers. We look at them as scary people when they are just hurt individuals that need our love and support. Some of these things that we've learned, I hear some leaders in the community say, man, I only do the fourth graders. I ain't got time for the teenagers, man. They don't want to change. Well, they never want to change if that's how you talk about them. They're very smart. They're very intuitive. They listen to what we say. And when they know how you feel, they can read you. They understand. So we got to rethink that. Yeah, they're hard. Yeah, they're violent if you make them like that. But I have never had a young person hit me or put his hands up at me. And I've been in the deepest and darkest of alleys and gangs and in the middle street gangs. And if anything, I've had them embrace me. Yeah, they kind of look at a little nervous when you put your arm around them because they've never been held by a father, never been loved by a man. And they don't want to think that you're on some gay stuff, so they don't want you putting your hands on them. But once you show them this is what men do. Men love them. Men give you love and support. And once you teach that to one, the other one says, "Hey, man, that's Reverend VJ. That's what he do, man. He hugs on you, man. He loves you. He cares about you. Oh, I didn't know that's what that was. I thought he was on something else." So we have to unlearn the fears that we have of our own community children, our community people, and our people in our community that are doing crime and violence. And we have to relearn new tactics besides always putting law enforcement on the front end of everything, that we need to be on the front end of it to find out what do you need. Sometimes you ask a person, what do you need? I had a young man just tell me, and an older adult just tell me, I just need somebody to love me, man. If I just knew somebody loved me, I would change.
Oh, that was a mouthful, man. That was really powerful. And you're right. You're right. And I've had that kind of experience as well. I've said it several times. The experience that I had with some young guys who were ready to mug me, take all my money. And you can really look at them and you can see that there was callousness deep within them, and you just, the glance, if you don't get out of this one, uh, you're in for a nice beating or put in a hospital and they don't care. But it's just that, and I heard literally the voice of God, and it was a split second. It says, do not respond the way they want you to respond. It was a split second. Just don't respond, because that would give the condition for them to allow the evil forces in them to hurt you. And all I did was I literally, oh, put my hand on the guy's shoulder. And I said, oh, just kindly. I don't know what came over me, but I said, not this time. This is for the church. But I understand. I understand, but not this time. And, God showed, that was my lesson. God was telling me, these are my children too, you know. And he I saw that he was ready to buck. Oh, you trying to, you know, try to accuse me of something? That's what he started off, but he changed in the mid split second. And I just put my hand on his shoulder. Oh, not this time, little brother. And it was like a father. And he shook his head. He did like this. And he went out his money and gave me all my money back. And he said, I don't know why I like you. And he walked away, And then his little boys, oh, no, no, we ain't going to let him go. Because he was the leader, he turned around, he said, do you not touch him? Let's go. And I left. But that experience for me was what you were saying. I had penetrated that age or that environment they had been in, and something that through God as a father or something that showed me that deep down in my children, there's goodness. How do we tap into that goodness and defunk, if you will, all of those violent behaviors and the environment they come from that causes them to have a certain mindset? How much are we working to do that? So I really appreciate what you just said, because you are sharing not only that one experience I had several, but not as many as you probably have had, because the number 60,000 is a phenomenal number, of mentoring. So I'm really happy. I would like to open up the floor for those who would like to share some of the things, because what we're saying, and you were saying that the different avenues or programs or different areas or categories that we need to deal with, and that's mental health. And I think mental health is really actually before this seminar, there's this Stop the Violence webinar. I did do one with the African American community and mental health in the African American community, because that's one thing that we don't deal with, and a lot of mental health issues out there, but we don't deal with. It's like a no. It's like, oh, no. You sweep that under the carpet. You're not supposed to talk about that. But I did about 4 or 5 programs prior to this, because they are part of the target community. And of course, there's other demographics of people, white, black, Hispanic. Everyone has some root cause of their violent behavior. So yes, mental health. So can you give me a little bit more, us a little more insight on that mental health? You did talk about pharmaceuticals. You talked about the power of addiction that causes certain ill behaviors and those other things as well.
Well, see, one of the things is that we don't know that we're mentally ill, and I always go back in the days, Dr. Oliver, when we grew up. What did we say? Man, you crazy. You crazy. You crazy. Boy, you crazy. But we really meant sometimes when somebody was crazy, we say, oh, they just crazy. Now that's a different way of saying it. Now we say, boy, you crazy. We was laughing because what you said was funny. But when we said, I think he crazy, we never said we think he's mentally ill. We just think he's crazy. He crazy. Something wrong with him. He crazy. And many times there was something wrong with us, that we were crazy, that we were depressed and hiding it, that we were going through something and we didn't know why we were so angry or why we were so bitter, that we were having rages from things that happened to us at 9 years old and 10 years old. And we stopped dreaming big, and we stopped wanting to do the best we could do. We stopped wanting the best for each other, and we stopped being good family leaders, and we stopped a lot of that because we didn't know what to do, what happened to us. And then we tried to educate our people and say, here's what you got to do. I remember people saying, "I don't want to go to that man or woman because all they do is ask me, do you hate your mama? Do you hate your daddy?" They always start off with that. Well, that's when these health workers don't really understand culture, and so culture is critical. Culture is critical. You don't ask me about my parents because most of us didn't have any, and a lot of us didn't have any. Ask us about what caused the pain, what made me so hurt inside so bad, what was it? And if we don't connect the right people up with the right culture, and people will tell you it doesn't matter what color you are, everybody can do therapy or counseling for everybody. Well, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's why sometimes we have to have specialty people that understand the culture. Where did you come from? I understand where you come from. I grew up in that neighborhood. I worked my way out of it. I got my master's degree. I've got my doctorate. And now I'm coming back to the community to help you. How can I help you? I understand. You don't have to tell me about the hood. I understand about the hood. Now let me work through you. We tried to put together a book of Black psychologists and minority psychologists, and it's just it's hard to keep it together, and it's I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's something against us trying to bring that together, but the mental health piece is so critical. First of all, we have to be educated about what it is. Second of all, everything doesn't have to be medicated. Everything doesn't need medication. Third, the people that are the most wounded sometimes get the least help. And fourth, a lot of people don't know how to get it. They don't know how to get it and they don't know how to ask for it. They don't even know what the symptoms are. And based upon their medical plan, they probably can't afford it.
Yeah, thank you for that. One of the things that came to mind, which I'd like you to address as well, is domestic abuse uh, in the homes many times. And, when you said that the boys, they don't touch me, sometimes they have some issues or abuse from children or child. But that like to go on, that's across the spectrum of demographics. People act out of in the white community, black community, minority communities, all those communities, especially if you have certain abuse and which triggers off if you call violent behaviors. Even when you think about when you go into the history of those people who have done with these mass murders and mass killings and those kind of thing. If you go back, there was some abuse back in their history or something in the family issues or something that they had were not able to deal with. But each one, like you said, um, uh, culturally, you could, it is true. We all react because we're all human beings. If you do certain things, you're going to act a certain way. But it does take a skill to look at culturally how do you approach that person, to get to the core that is across the spectrum that all people. So how do you address that?
And I think we address that by getting more people of color into the field and the people that are of color in the field promoting them. Dr. Oliver, let me ask you, and how much promotion have you seen of psychologists and therapists of color recruiting, or have you seen any social media of them being promoted or shown, and or how can you get to them? It's you don't see much, and I know you don't see much because I don't see much, and we're out there looking, and they're become more prevalent on social media now, and we can find them. But if you're looking, I mean, in my health plan, I look and I don't see people that look like me, and so I wonder where are they at? I know they're out there. Why aren't they involved in these institutions where we can receive their help? So we need to get them more into the educational system and pull them more into the health care field and get them more involved. And I think that's the key to do that. I also think we need to know where they're at. And probably most of them are overloaded. The ones that can work in the plans, the healthcare plans that I know of, in those community centers where they have healthcare plans, uh, you can make an appointment today for July, August. If I got some mental health issues, Dr. Oliver, um, You think I can hold on my mental health issues till July or August when I called you in April?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a very deep issue to deal with in the reality. I'd like to open up the floor if anyone has any other questions or like to share a few points as well.
Yeah, that'd
John
be great.
O'Connor, he's usually has some questions as well.
That'd be great. I'd love to hear some questions and comments because these things are really traumatizing our community. They're traumatizing our elders. They're traumatizing our youth. I took some youth to camp, and they at the end of the third day, we were getting ready to get on the bus, and many of them started crying. I said, "What are you crying for?" They said, I've never had peace before. I didn't know this was what peace was. I had no idea. I've never felt peace. I don't want to go back to that sirens and violence and shooting. I realize I love peace.
Anybody that's really powerful. Anyone else like to share something? I see Andrea. Uh,
Yeah, Andrea, come on and say a few words. Come on, everybody, give us some comments.
Well, I don't have children around me this week, so I'll give it a try. First of all, thank you very much, both of you. I really, really appreciate these programs. Um, I'm not really sure how to approach it, but Dr. Zagri, Reverend Zagri, when you talk about your experience with the guys who wanted to take your money, I had a similar experience. Even though I, of course, am very white and and I was raising fundraising in the area of Watts in California. And I'd stopped in a park to take a break. And of course, on these, I think 3 or 4 young ladies came up to me, Black ladies, and here I am with my fundraising products. And so, of course, they knew I had money on me. And here I was in my very whiteness in a very Black neighborhood. And in many ways, not welcome and didn't belong there. And I was very much aware of that. But somehow I felt led by God to try to be very even and go there because everywhere is humanity. So they, of course, wanted to take my money too, and I don't know, some kind of calmness, very incredible calmness came over me, and as just as you said, I didn't respond the way they expected me to respond, and so they took the money out of my box and they looked at it, and I can't even remember what I said, but I just remember feeling very calm. And then they put it back and they said, they told me, you be careful, and then they left. But it reminded me, yesterday there was a program on that where it was about the role of gratitude in bringing peace to the world. And all these things that Reverend Smith is talking about and all your other guests, they're all incredibly important tools. But the various social problems and injustices, they all need to be addressed. But I think as a humanity that we one of the things that was brought up yesterday is Dr. Wining said, she reminded of the Confucian saying that if, and actually other religions too, if you don't have light within yourself, there cannot be peace within the world. Sort of like Mother Moon's peace starts with me. And so this is, I think, a very fundamental place we need to go. Even Reverend Smith was just talking about how never had an environment of anyone caring, never having an environment of peace. So just the reality of being cared for, making you cry. And I think I just want to say that this is a across the board problem. This is, I mean, the greater abuse has gone to the minority situations, but across the board, we don't care about each other. And a lot of reasons we don't care about each other is because we don't care about ourselves. And we may have material goods, we may have power, we may have these things, but we don't really have light or peace within ourselves. So I heard your testimony before about the guys who didn't take your money. which reminded me, but is that it's not just that God protected me, is that with that presence of peace within me, that was the environment that didn't allow more violence to take place. And that's something that we all need to work on. And because we all got stuff. We all got a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of historical stuff too. But that to find that place that's not by duty or not by, it's just genuine finding yourself where you are at peace with yourself, with others, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, what religion there is. Can you really find that place of peace? And then add all those tools to all that work that Reverend Smith and the others are doing. But fundamentally, that his testimony about those people crying on the bus because they'd never felt, I think that's a real big key. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrea.
That was really moving, and I appreciate what you had to say, because a lot of times people will say, as a Caucasian person, I really, really respect everything you had to say. I think we need more openness and more people coming together like that to show how much more we are together than we are separately. And so to hear you speak like that, it speaks mountains of what we need more of, because there's so many examples of where people that did bad really did good than there are people that did bad. And we need to shine it. And I don't think we shine it enough on the news, on the media, anywhere. We're always talking about what somebody did bad, and usually it's a person of color. But can we shine something that somebody did good? So thank you for shining some goodness.
Yeah, create a better environment.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Andrea. That was really a powerful comment. I was moved by it, and it just made a lot of sense. And it's true. That is what it is. That's the innermost self speaking, and that innermost self comes from God, and that becomes the prevailing environment. Like Mother Moon said, peace starts with in me. You look into yourself, and that's where peace starts. And it's so true. So you really, thank you very much. Usually Andrea, like she has children, so she'll type something in, right? But this time, I think this is all 2 years. The most she said, 2 years. So we always let me know when the children are not there, Andrea, so you can also give some more your wonderful comments. Thank you so much for that. Anyone else? Let's open up the floor. I see Sun Willett. She usually has something she wants to share with us. She likes.
Love to hear from you. So come on in and chat with us. Me and Dr. Oliver love to hear from the community and the people around. We do this for you. We don't do it just to me and him to talk. We want to hear
That's
from
right.
you.
That's true. How about John O'Connor?
Mr. O'Connor, come on, talk to us.
You're muted. Usually John comes on.
Come on, John. Unmute yourself, brother.
Unless he's not by the camera right now. How about Charles or whatever?
Come on, Charles. I know you got something to add to this.
Yeah, normally they have something to say. Or are they muted? Anyway, as we go on, let me unmute before we go back to the
Well, Charles
area.
says he's at work. He can't talk right now.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on, Charles, even when you're working. Let me see. Yeah, I think another thing that we did discuss, and that was what's missing and remissed within our all over, the country, but more indelibly within the at-risk communities and the minority communities is the family values to be reinstated within the construct of those families there, and that's what's missing. So do you have any, can you share a little bit about that and the power of
So
family values, why that's missing?
in so many families, family values and criminal values on the same line. So when you say family values, they're saying, "Oh yeah, mama steals, daddy steals, I steal. We got great family values." "Oh yeah, mom smokes weed and drinks liquor. I smoke weed and drink liquor. We got great family values." "Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We do this and do that. We sell dope in the neighborhood in the community, and they taught me how to do it. We got great family values." That's not great family values. Matter of fact, when you talk to families that are criminal families, they have criminal values. They have did such a good job of mixing it in that even the kids are confused. Even the kids are confused about what real family values are. Real family values are when you teach your kids the right way to do things. When you teach your kids by example the right way to do things, not just do what I say, but don't do what I do, but actually do what I do because I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to get a job versus taking from somebody else. I'm going to work hard so that you don't have to see me go to jail every other year. I'm going to stay free and I'm going to stay alive and I'm going to stay involved. I'm not going to hop from place to place so you don't know where I'm at. I'm going to be a present father or a present mother. I will not let drugs and alcohol take control. I won't just show up at grandma's house to give you a few dollars here and there. That's not family values, but if that's all you know, you begin to get confused about what real family values are. And as I teach family values, a lot of young people say, "Wow, I got criminal elements written all over my family. Everywhere I turn, it's criminal elements. It's criminal values, not family values." You know, some families, when a kid turns 15, they throw this big party and they do all this wonderful stuff. That's family values. Sometimes when certain people throw parties, they got more Kavasi and Hennessy there than they do birthday cake. That's not a family value. If we're smoking blunts and you're waiting to blow out the candle on the cake, but we're so busy smoking blunts and getting drunk and getting high, we forgot about the whole purpose of why we all came together. It's no longer family values. It's a criminogenic value. There's something that about that that's just not right. And we've learned to do that because we've seen it happen with our mothers. They did it to us, so we do it to our kids. So family values are critical, and to teach them is easy. You just take it week by week. You give them a little bit of family values every week until they get it, and they start to show the kids, "I'm doing something different, and I want you to do it different." And then before you know it, the whole family dynamics will change. So it's important to understand the difference between criminal values and family values and understand when a family has mixed them in to make it appear like it's okay when it's not.
Your descriptions is impeccable. You really got it down pat, and I can see it because I understand the community as well. And but one of the other things that crossed my mind as we come to a close, you had mentioned the kids in your lessons that you were teaching. One was anger management, and then one in grief and trauma. And many of them don't even know that they're angry, and many of them don't even know that they're traumatized because, like you said, this is the type of environment that they're in. But one of the things that struck me when you said this, and I've heard this, and we ain't angry. We just don't want anybody disrespect me. So diss me, they use that terminology. And I think that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes historically for me. When I hear why would they have that mindset? Why are you so, that is the most deepest priority in your life, is being disrespected, and to the point where you have to kill someone because you were being disrespected? That's really deep, and to me, it has a historical root to it. So did you, as we're coming to the close, because I'm going to give you the last word, because we have a couple more minutes before we close. Can you address that?
Why would you not be mad when you look at your savings account and it says zero? Why would you not be mad when you look at your bank account and it's zero? Why would you not be mad when you're not allowed to get any credit cards or have any credit? Why would you not be mad when you don't have a scholarship and there's no scholarship coming and there's nobody coming to save you? Why would you not be mad when the best jobs are not available to you and the best salary is not available to you? The best educational system is not available to you. But the one thing that I can control, the one thing that I can command that nobody can take away from me is that you're going to respect me. You're going to respect me. I may be broke. I may have holes in my shoes, but you're going to respect me and you're going to respect my name. You're going to put some respect on it because it's the only thing I got, and I'm going to die for this respect. I will die for it. I will kill for it, and I live for it.
Volumes. It speaks volumes, and that can go even deeper than that. I really appreciate that, what you just shared. And, it just breaks your heart. But I think I always, and they've probably heard me say this, two things I would close with. Satan is a liar and a thief and a master intimidator. And his mission is to make us think that nothing can change and it's over with. But God has always proven that it's not over with, because I could still part Red Seas, but I need you to do certain conditions. And one of the conditions I see is that if we can recalibrate our understanding, as you have shared so eloquently with us, what is really needed and what really are some of the root causes there, then an alternative voice can come. Alternative voice does not mean that it's a voice of judgment. It's just a voice of facts of how we can bring true change and true love to the community that transcends black, white, and yellow. We're all human beings. So the alternative voice many times is a track and a bridge that God can use, and then he can part the Red Sea again, and bring some solutions to his wayward children who are victims and who have been victims and who have become victimizers as well. And so we want to thank you, my brother, for always coming on. We love you, and we will do this together. I'm looking at maybe not June, but July, around that time we can have this conference. But again, I want to thank you for coming on. We're at our close. I want to thank everybody who was there. I want to thank Andrea for her prolific remarks, and thank you for your comments, the nice words you've shared in the comment box to us. All right, my brother. All right, everyone. God bless. We will talk. I'm glad you came on.
God bless you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank
All right,
you.
everyone. Take care.